This story still keeps me up at night. Listen closely. The evening air was crisp as I navigated the winding streets, my car loaded with orders for eager customers. As a food delivery driver, I was used to the hustle and bustle of the job, the constant stream of orders keeping me on my toes. Tonight, however, something felt off. The streets were unusually quiet, and an eerie sense of unease settled over me as I made my deliveries. I tried to shake off the feeling, chalking it up to fatigue or nerves, but as the night wore on, the feeling only intensified. It was as though I could sense something lurking just beyond the edge of my vision, something dark and malevolent. As I approached my next delivery, the feeling of unease grew almost unbearable. The house was nestled at the end of a long, dark driveway surrounded by dense woods. I hesitated for a moment, considering turning back, but the promise of a hefty tip spurred me forward. I parked my car and made my way up the driveway, the crunch of gravel beneath my feet echoing in the silence. The porch light flickered ominously as I reached the door, sending a shiver down my spine. I knocked hesitantly, my heart pounding in my chest. After what felt like an eternity, the door creaked open, revealing a figure standing in the shadows. Their face was obscured, hidden in the darkness, but I could feel their eyes boring into me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. I stammered out a greeting, trying to maintain a sense of professionalism, but the figure remained silent, their presence looming over me like a dark cloud. I handed over the food, eager to be rid of it and leave this place behind me. But as I turned to go, a cold voice stopped me in my tracks. "Wait," it said, sending a chill down my spine. I froze, my hand on the doorknob as the figure stepped forward into the dim light. It was then that I saw their face, a twisted mask of malice and hunger, their eyes gleaming with a predatory light. Panic surged through me as I realized the danger I was in. I tried to run, to flee back to my car and escape, but it was too late. With a sickening thud, the door slammed shut behind me, trapping me in the darkness with the figure. And as they advanced toward me, their intentions clear, I knew that my delivery had taken me to a place from which there was no escape. The sun was beginning to set as the package delivery driver navigated through the suburban streets. It had been a long day of making countless stops, dropping off parcels to homes and businesses across the city. With only a few deliveries left on the route, I hoped to finish before nightfall. My next stop took me to a quiet neighborhood lined with neatly manicured lawns and colorful flower beds. The address on the package led me to a quaint house nestled at the end of a cul-de-sac. I parked the delivery van and retrieved the package from the back, a medium-sized box sealed with tape. Approaching the front door, I rang the doorbell and waited patiently. After a moment, the door swung open, revealing a woman with a warm smile. "Good evening," she greeted me. "You must be the delivery driver. Thank you for coming." I returned her smile and handed her the package. "No problem at all, just doing my job. Have a great evening." As I turned to leave, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about the encounter, but I brushed it off as exhaustion from a long day on the road and continued on my route. The next delivery took me to a house just a few streets over. As I approached the front door, I felt a sense of déjà vu. The house looked eerily similar to the one I had just visited, from the color of the door to the arrangement of the plants on the porch. Shaking my head to clear my thoughts, I rang the doorbell and waited. To my surprise, the same woman from the previous delivery answered the door, her smile just as warm as before. "Didn't I just see you?" I blurted out, unable to contain my confusion. The woman's smile faltered for a moment before she recovered. "I'm sorry, you must be mistaken," she said politely, taking the package from me. As I made my way back to the delivery van, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over me. Something about the situation didn't sit right, but I couldn't quite put his finger on it. The rest of the deliveries passed without incident, but the encounter with the woman lingered in the back of my mind. It wasn't until I returned home and recounted the events of the day to my wife that I realized the gravity of the situation. "That's strange," my wife remarked. "I've heard rumors about a house in that neighborhood. They say it's haunted, that people who visit never seem to leave." A chill ran down my spine as I listened to my wife's words. Suddenly, the pieces began to fall into place, and I realized that I may have stumbled upon something far more sinister than just a routine delivery. It was just another night on the job for me, delivering packages to homes and businesses around the city. The sky was gray, covered in clouds, and I had a long list of deliveries to make before the day was over. As I drove through the bustling streets, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Being a delivery driver was hard work, but I enjoyed the freedom of the open road and the satisfaction of knowing that I was helping people get their packages on time. But as the day wore on, things took a turn for the worse. My last delivery of the day was to a remote warehouse on the outskirts of town. It was a nondescript building surrounded by chain-link fences and overgrown weeds. I parked my van outside and made my way to the entrance, package in hand. The air was heavy with an eerie stillness, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. As I approached the door, a chill ran down my spine. It was slightly ajar, as if someone had left it open on purpose. I hesitated for a moment, debating whether or not to go inside, but duty called and I pushed the door open, stepping into the darkness beyond. The warehouse was dimly lit, with rows of shelves stretching into the distance. I called out, announcing my presence, but there was no response. I felt a knot of unease tightening in my stomach as I made my way deeper into the building. That's when I saw it, a figure lurking in the shadows, watching me with hungry eyes. Panic surged through me as I realized that I wasn't alone in the warehouse. Before I could react, the figure lunged forward, knocking me to the ground with a force that knocked the breath from my lungs. I struggled to free myself, but the figure was too strong, its grip like iron. As darkness closed in around me, I realized with horror that this would be my final delivery, and as the world faded away, swallowed by the shadows of the warehouse, I knew that I would never make it out alive. The evening hustle was in full swing as I zipped through the city streets, delivering piping hot meals to hungry customers. It was a job I'd grown accustomed to the rush of adrenaline as I raced against the clock, the satisfaction of bringing joy to someone's doorstep. But tonight felt different. There was an ominous chill in the air, a sense of unease that lingered like a shadow over the city. I brushed it off as pre-delivery jitters and focused on the task at hand. My next stop was in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of town. The GPS led me down winding streets lined with tall trees, their branches casting eerie shadows in the fading light. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched as I pulled up to the address. The house loomed before me, dark and imposing against the night sky. I hesitated for a moment, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end, before gathering up the delivery bag and making my way to the door. A chill ran down my spine as I approached the porch, the creak of the wooden steps echoing in the silence. I knocked, my heart pounding in my chest, and waited. After what felt like an eternity, the door creaked open, revealing a figure standing in the shadows. Their face was hidden, but I could sense the weight of their gaze as they looked me over. I forced a smile and held out the delivery bag, eager to be on my way. But the figure remained silent, their presence sending a shiver down my spine. Just as I was about to turn and leave, a voice spoke from the darkness, a low, guttural sound that sent a chill down my spine. "Come inside," it said, the words dripping with malice. Panic surged through me as I realized the danger I was in. Without a second thought, I turned and fled, the sound of my footsteps echoing in the night as I ran back to my car. I peeled out of the driveway, my heart racing as I left the neighborhood behind me. It wasn't until I was safely back on the main road that I allowed myself to breathe a sigh of relief. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had narrowly escaped something truly sinister. And as I made my rounds for the rest of the evening, I couldn't help but glance nervously over my shoulder, wondering what other dangers lurked in the darkness.